Hi guys, it's Nancy and I'm back with another new release from Catherine Puller Designs. This is part of the May 2022 release. I will have all of the information down below. Remember, if you are a Stamp Nation member, you get your release a day ahead of the general public. But we are going to recreate this card. And what I used were some Catherine Puller inks. So we are going to use Pucker Up, Catching Rays, and Cummerbund, all part of the Date Night collection, which was just released as minis. If you don't have them, you can get them in full size or minis. We are going to be using Midnight Black. We are going to be using some Disco Ball embossing powder. And the new products we will be using will be this new stamp set, which is called Superstar Sentiments Stamp Set. And it says, super cute, you're my superstar, super excited for you, hope your birthday is super job, congrats, out of this world, what you did was super, and super proud of you. So a fun stamp set. Also, there is a coordinating super word die, which will cut the shadow and the word super. That is just super. And then the new background cover plate is called Cosmic Cover Plate. So we're going to be using that. And I brought in the sentiment strips from the sentiment banner dies. Okay. All right. This is going to be really easy to put together. It's a lot of fun. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my background and my sentiments. So to do that, we're going to take Midnight ink and we are going to go direct to paper on the top half of this paper. Okay, so that's going to be our shadow die for the word super. I'm just going to wipe that up real quick. And then on the other half, we're going to take Pucker Up. Now, of course, you can use any colors that you like. I just love how vibrant these colors are. It looks like I need to maybe re-ink my pad there. Oh, there we go. Okay. And we're going to give both of these just a moment to dry. Okay, and while that is drying, I'm actually going to re-ink these. So let me grab those and show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so if you've never re-inked these inks, because they're super spongy, I do a lot of direct to paper with these. And so I do like to have the re-inkers. Now mine are the ones that, the new ones now have colored labels, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. But I just swatched a little sticker on the older ones here. So if you have the refills already, you can do that. But the newer ones come with colored labels, so you don't have to worry about doing that. What am I looking for? Oh, Pucker Up. Pucker Up, darling. So it's very easy to re-ink these when you see that they're getting a little dry. Just going to take some of that ink. And you can see that soaks right in, so that tells me they were a little dry. If you wanted to, you could use a spoon or an old gift card or hotel key card, whatever you have. Grocery store cards, all those things. And I just do a little bit of time in different areas and different directions and watch that soak in. Now, I can certainly stop there because we don't want it to be too juicy, and just give that a moment to saturate into the ink pad a little bit. And we're going to use these three colors. I use these three colors all the time for ink blending and for direct to paper, so that's why mine are a little bit dry right now. Obviously, I just made the sample card to show you guys. So you don't need to get rinkers right away, but once you fall in love with these, you're going to find out that it's just easier to do that. And Catherine Puller sells these in bundles where you can get the ink pad and the re-inker and get a little bit of a discount versus buying one at a time. So I will tell you, these are great ink pads. I've shown all the different ways that they work. Blending is beautiful. They're water reactive. If you wanted to do water spots, you can use them for general easy watercolor ink smushing. So a lot of different ways that you can use these inks. And the spongy pad makes it so easy to stamp with. All right, so now that those are all nicely re-inked, we're going to make our background, which is also going to be direct to paper. So I'm actually going to start with Catching Rays. By the way, this is the Catherine Puller Premium Cardstock cut down to 5.5 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to start with Catching Rays in the middle. And you can see the difference there on how juicy it is. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with Pucker Up on one side. And I'll cross over that Catching Rays a little bit. And then Cummerbund on the other side. And again, crossing over that Catching Rays a little so you can see we get this kind of full rainbow transition. Now, you could certainly go in with your blending brushes and make it all nice and neat, but honestly, this is going to be mostly covered up. You're only going to see peaks of color poking through, so don't worry about making it too precise. Don't worry about your colors blending too perfectly. You'll see why here in a second. So I'm going to set that aside to let that ink dry a little bit, and while that ink is setting, I'm going to cut a piece of foil card. Now, any foil card will work. It doesn't have to be a particular brand or color, whatever you want. I happen to have this holographic, and I'm also going to cut this to 5.5 by 4 1/4, so it is full card, A2 card front size. Okay. And we are going to run our new cover plate through our die cutting system. Now I use the Gemini Junior, but you could certainly use a manual machine, whatever you have. And we want to put the cutting side on the top of this, so it will cut through the foil. I'm going to bring my cutting plates in here. Now, because I cut it so precise, you'll see that it fits perfectly inside the die here. If you want to cut yours a little larger, you can, and then it'll be easier, but I'm just going to adhere a little bit of tape on the back side here before I put this on my cutting plate, just to make sure that everything stays straight when we cut it. Because this paper's very glossy. It likes to wiggle a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to put some tape, and we're going to run that through the die cutting system. Now, this does get a little bit messy because there's a lot of little pieces. So you're going to want to go in with like a brush over your trash can and knock down all of those little pieces that are going to pop out. You could certainly keep them for shaker cards. But in this case, we're just going to knock all of those into the trash can. Now, if you have a die cutting system where it's a little difficult and you find that those pieces don't want to release, and this is a thicker cardstock, you might have to use a metal shim underneath. So you'll have to check with the instructions on your die cutting machine. But for me, these will pop out fairly easily. I'm just using a little Spellbinder's brush to pop them out. Okay, so let me pop out those pieces and I will be right back. Okay, guys, so I got pretty much everything out. There's a couple of pieces that I need to just grab the tweezers and pull off. But for the most part, they all fell out, and I have a pretty confetti trash can of bits now. All right. That looks good. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to start to cut out some pieces here, and then we can do assembly. So here is that cardstock. In the very beginning, we did direct to paper with the black and the pucker up. So we're going to take the shadow super die, and we're going to tape that down to the top part here. And then we're going to take the super word die, And we're going to tape that to the bottom part here. And we're going to run those through our die cutting system. Okay, so I have those two. And I want to heat emboss this. So I'm going to bring in coffee filter. Grab my little tweezers again. Bring in my embossing tool. Let me make sure that is all warmed up. Okay, so what we're going to do is take the word super, and with the inked side, we're going to press that into our Wow embossing powder. Wow sticky ink embossing pad, which is super sticky of an ink, and that will allow our embossing powder to stick. Now, I know there's a couple places I've missed, but that's okay because normally I do this twice to make sure I have complete coverage. Now, some people go direct to paper and then die cut. I don't like wasting my embossing powder, so I do my embossing when I'm ready. But you could do it that way if you're not comfortable doing it like this. You can direct to paper, make it all sticky, emboss it, and then die cut it if you prefer to do it that way. And you do want to use some kind of tweezers to hold that. And now we're just going to heat this up. And then right where the tweezers were, actually I don't need to re-emboss that. It looks good. And if you missed any spots, you didn't get enough ink, you can always go back in and emboss it again. Okay, just going to put that aside. Did make a giant mess on my desk. It's part of the fun. And then obviously we're going to glue this to this when we assemble it, so I don't need to worry about that right now either. So now I want to stamp out my sentiment. And to stamp out my sentiment, I'm going to bring in those stitched banner dies, which I've pre-cut and just keep them in the package. And again, they're sentiment banner dies and they are stitched. And I grabbed the smallest one here. I'm going to grab our stamp set. And since I already have the word super, I'm just going to add one of these other sentiments. I used the birthday one, so let's grab something else here. I like super proud of you. And the stamping blocks have lines, so I can make sure that I have my stamp lined up straight. And I'm going to use Blackjack, which is a dark gray ink. Stamp that right in the center. Perfect. Okay. And now it's just assembling everything. So to assemble, we're going to bring in all of the pieces that we've already cut and embossed and glittered. So we're going to start with our direct to paper. Now you can see that everything has kind of blended itself out. I have embossing powder everywhere. I should have put it away before I heated it with my heat tool, and now it's blown all over the desk. Okay. So we're going to start with making sure this fits, and I am going to trim the edges down just very slightly so that it goes underneath my card panel. I mean, I'm talking a sliver here. So it'll be slightly smaller than 5.5 and 4 1/4. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And we're going to bring in our Bearly Arts glue. And this part is totally optional. I like the fun pops of color. You can make it any color you want. You can use pattern paper underneath, but it's just slight pops of color that come through. And just gonna glue that down. All right, and then we're going to add our holographic background. The first one I made is just out of silver cardstock. This one's holographic, so it's a little bit more fun, but you have plenty of room to add your adhesive, especially with this fine tip. And then I do kind of like to go in and add some in the centers here so they don't jump up, pop off the card. And we're just going to assemble that. And that should go edge to edge. 5.5 by 4 1/4 A2 size card. I'm going to put the big stamping block on there just to hold that in place. While that is sticking down, we're going to put some of this fine tip glue on the super. You could also have pre-cut this with adhesive on the back, but it's not too small that you can't add glue. And then use your tweezers or whatever you have to kind of line that up. Very easy to do, and that glue dries clear. So I'm just going to add my stamping block on that. And I have my sentiment ready to go. You could pop this up as well. A little bit of glue smeared there. Oops. Okay, give that a second to dry while I clean up my mess here and tell you guys again what we used. So we used the new Cosmic cover plate. That's the background we cut on the foil card. Okay, the ink colors that we used today were Pucker Up, Catching Rays, and Cummerbund. We also used Midnight Black for the shadow layer, and we used Blackjack for inking the sentiment. And that's just because the Midnight Black is an archival ink, and it will stain your photopolymer stamp. So I used the Blackjack so my stamps don't get stained. We used the Wow embossing pad, and we used the Disco Ball embossing powder to emboss the super. And we just did direct to paper and stamped out the sentiments, which are from the brand new Superstar Sentiments stamp set, and used the dies, Super Word dies, in combination with the sentiment banner dies to do the sentiment. So bringing all of these together created this fun card for you guys. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial on it and had fun watching along. Very simple, easy to do, but a lot of fun. Again, you can see that pops of color behind there. And that super really pops with that holographic embossing powder. So I hope you had fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think this is something easy that you can attempt to make? You can find all of the products at Catherine Puller. I will have the links down below for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and keep on stamping. Bye!